That's right. I absolutely agree. Something that the Quran says, the Quran talks about heaven and hell, not being places, but being actually states of mind. So what we learn in the Moorish Science Temple of America is those particular lessons and exercises that allows for us to master our minds. So in mastering our minds, we know that we actually create, our living conditions or our living mind space. My brother Sheik used to always talking about, having the chaotic mind space versus the peaceful mind space and the ability to create this space for yourself. And as Moorish Americans, somebody who knows themselves, they know that this ability, that this capacity actually exists within them.
Cogwell started the Cobras on the west side, but many others say that it started in Fuller Park, specifically on the corner of 43rd and Princeton. Either way, the Cobras began spreading all over the city, and eventually by 1959, half of the notorious Cabrini Greens projects joined the Cobras. In fact, by this time there were 500 members spread throughout the different projects in the city. The Cobras had a bully mentality where they didn't let anyone get in their way, and of course this didn't sit well with a lot of people in Chicago, specifically the Black Disciples, also known as the BDs. The BD's leader David Barksdale had a huge problem with the Cobras, and everything took a left turn in 1960. At the time, most of the problems were at the hands of a 16-year-old named Henry Ponder, also known as Johnny Ringo. Despite his age, he was appointed to lead the Cobras against the BDs. This is because he was truly fearless and definitely feared in Chicago. So for the next 2 years, the BDs and Cobras were in a major rivalry, June 12th, 1962. This is the date where Chicago police figured everything out. So here's the context. Just a month prior, 2 Cobras had gone down for a wild spree of events. And basically, Chicago police gave them a deal. All the charges would be dropped if they told them who the leader of the Cobras was and what he had done. So the 2 members gave up Johnny Ringo on June 12th and the rest was history. He ended up getting life, but this was not the end for the Cobras. At this time, they were extremely unorganized and wild in their ways. Money wasn't in the picture, they literally only cared about the BDs. However, this reputation would begin to change after Johnny Ringo went down. After him, a new leader stepped up to the plate and had a completely different vision. That would be a young man named Henry Cogwell, also known as Mickey, and he happened to be the cousin of the supposed founder James Cogwell, but this had nothing to do with his leadership. In fact, by this time, James Cogwell was out of the life and his west side area was no longer Cobras. Well, what made Mickey different is that he was a smooth operator. He was all about getting money and using his charisma to get his way. Mickey was inspired by the Italians and the way they handled business, so that's who he emulated. He also wanted the Cobras to have a specific place that they control, and there was no better place to choose than the brand new Robert Taylor Homes. This was Chicago's last project to be completed in 1962, and that meant that it was up for grabs. So as soon as it opened up for leasing, Mickey and hundreds of Cobras moved in. This is where the Cobras established their home base, but unfortunately this did make them easy to find. September 7th, 1968. 8 p.m. Mickey Cogwell's younger brother Jerome is leaving the Robert Taylor Homes, and as he walks down State Street, a man is right there.
Islam. Paradigm shift in the podcast. Sheik Maurice Pennington Bey, the master student. And this time, y'all, it's gonna be a little different. Y'all know, I like to keep it more simply Moorish. But the Prophet Noble Ali, he let us know that we have to solve this Negro problem. So I brought my main man, the Supreme Prince of the Mickey Cobras, my man Bomani here with me, so we can really shed some light on this whole gangism thing that done just like, in the past decade or so, that just blew up like it's just the thing to do. And I mean, it's not a thing of pride or the familyism that we thought it was when we was coming up in it. It's like entertainment now, it became a fad, a trend, like ones ain't actually putting their life on the line, their freedom on the line for doing this stuff. So we gonna, attempt to make it real for those who just think it's a game. So
Yeah.
Islam, what's up with it, man?
Well, I'm sitting there, just can't return from federal prison after 14 years. I've been doing this since 1974. Nothing about the Cobras taught us how to be destructive in the street. It taught us how to be better men because nothing in our literature tell us about the negative stuff that we're doing. It's all about positive. All these gangs started out by people taking advantage of other people in the neighborhoods. So you had the Foreman and Lions. So the Lions became we protected our neighborhoods. Then it went from that when the people put the drugs into the play, everybody started going to the drugs and then helped the same community that we began to save, we began to tear down. So now we have to have a better concept about trying to do the things so that our children and grandchildren don't come up and do the same thing that we did. You want to play the streets gonna win every time. No matter who you is, the streets gonna win. I did 23 years before this. Now I just came home for 14 years. When is enough is enough. We
Yeah,
gotta do better.
Islam. Hey, that's amazing. I remember when we first met over in Oklahoma City, in El Reno. And you told me that, you Bomani now. And I was like, man, Prince Bomani. I'm like, I never heard of a prince named Bomani. You're like, no, they used to call me Ugg. And I was like, Ugg. I was expecting, when you say Ugg, I was expecting Ugg to be some 7 foot tall, 400 pound dope with a whole bunch of machine guns on him. You know what I mean? That's the type of reputation that you left behind. You understand me? And
Yes, sir.
to go to prison in 1985, come home in 2008, and then in 2011 to go back to prison and do 14 more years for this thing that that you and I, we pledged our life to it. We said that we would make that type of sacrifice, you know. And like you said, the streets is gonna win every time. The streets gonna
Every
win every
time.
time because the streets is not sacrificing anything. It doesn't bleed, it doesn't sweat, it doesn't have to work, it don't gotta pay bills, and nobody really, really loves it. You understand what I'm saying? So it's of course it's gonna win every time. Um, you just said something. You said that our literature doesn't teach us to be destructive. Now, see, you the supreme prince. I was a minister. So that was my thing, understanding the law and the literature. And you're right. And you're right. But there was an issue with that. Do you know, Mo, that all them years, because we young, we gang banging, we doing our thing, we young. I was 16 years old, 17 years old when I got that position. I didn't even know what the definition of the word revolutionary was. I mean, I literally, my real talk, I did not know what it meant. You understand what I'm saying? Like a lot of the things in the literature, I did not really understand or comprehend at all the meaning. Like when you see the words coalition, you see the words uh, revolution, you see the words, even allegiance or pledge. Like I didn't know what these words meant. You know
Yes,
what I
sir.
mean? What I did know was that those brothers that I love so much because we grew up together, like we lived for each other. Everybody talk about the fact that they are willing to die for whatever it is that they represent or claim, but in real life, we live for each other because for most of us, we all we got. You understand me? Like real
Yes,
talk, we
sir.
literally all we got. I didn't even understand that part until I got to prison and I started to really, revisit the trauma that I had experienced in my life, talk to other brothers and realize how much trauma they had in their life. Home wasn't even safe for a lot of us, but the streets, even though it wasn't safe, we still loved each other enough to make the sacrifice worth it, if that makes sense, right? So Nowadays, I just seen, the Grand Sheik, Eric Thompson Bey out in Baltimore at Temple number 13. He just interviewed one of the little brothers, 051 Kiddo. Kiddo from my neighborhood. He from 51st and St. Lawrence, like I am. And I know you spent a lot of time on 51st and St. Lawrence. And the little brother, man, he real sharp. He real sharp. He real intentional about, trying to get up out the streets. But at the same time, you and I both know that he real, like he really standing on the business, like what they call, how when we say standing on the business. When we
What's
say
up?
standing on the business, we know what that means. Like Shorty really standing on the business because that's what it is in the streets. Tell me, I want you to tell the people about that first 23 years you did because you got locked up in 1985 and the world changed so much between 85 and 2008 when you come home. Kind of shed some light on that for us.
Well, I come out of the Robert Taylor projects, 4848, and I bought the Cobras over there. And from the time I was released from prison, unbeknownst to me, a lot of the guys was doing a lot of shooting. I didn't have no idea that they was doing this shooting. One day they happened to come get me, and I was telling them, I was like, why is y'all out here just shooting people for no reason? And they was saying, well, we trying to get some money. So they left my house and come back. Then I left out the house with them. Now all these shootings, mind you, just constantly keep happening. But I don't know nothing about it because I don't be out.
Right.
So when the police arrested us, the police told me, said, listen, I know that you didn't have nothing to do with this, but I want you to tell us what you know or you going to the penitentiary for a long time. I told them I don't know nothing. And I end up going to the penitentiary with some people. One person got on the stand and testified against me. This person was legally blind, but this person was able to describe everything that I was wearing in the courtroom. But then when they put a piece of paper in front of his face, he had to put on his glasses to see it.
Mm.
So I went to the penitentiary technically for something that I didn't have nothing to do with. But the, the code of the streets and stuff, my integrity is everything. And I had to swallow the bullet. I didn't have nothing to do with the case at all.
Dang, bro. I remember when I was locked up, a sister, I was in Butler, North Carolina, and they just came and snatched me off the compound, threw me in the hole, and they didn't even tell me. I didn't find out why I had went to the hole until 5 years later. Like literally, like it took me 5 years to find out why I went to the hole and got shipped all the way to freaking Arizona, right? But when I went to the hole, there was a sister who was transferring me to the hole, and she asked me what did I do, and I told her I didn't do nothing. She told me I was a lie. She told me that they don't lock people up for nothing.
It's
You understand what I'm saying?
that's their favorite word.
That's their favorite demonstration right there. But here it is. You did 23 years in prison for nothing. But while you was doing that 23, but while you was doing that 23 years, like you didn't commit the crime, but a lot of these things that's going that these youngsters is in the streets losing their life about. A lot of these things that these youngsters is in the streets pledging their life to. You was a part of seeing those things actually take form. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, when I went into the penitentiary, I was basically that was basically my community. And the guys, like um everything else started taking form because I wasn't out on the streets at the time. So I was communicating with some of the people from the streets, and they was basically taking orders, from me from the streets to the streets. So and in the streets, they had began to sell drugs. So we was coordinating them from the penitentiary to coordinate drugs. At the same time, we establish rules and regulations as far as what we supposed to do and what we wasn't supposed to do. Now the eras has changed now because so many people have been taking on the drugs and start using them themselves. So now you
Mhm.
so now you have a bunch of people that saying they brothers, but as soon as your back is turned, they double crossing each other
Yeah.
because they don't have no sense of direction. When I went to the penitentiary in 1994, I was put on what's called the circuit. A guy it a guy uh put this program together. It was called the Asclepion program. And the idea of the program was to take you out of your natural environment and put you in an environment that you no longer have control.
Mm.
Only people you can depend on is the police. They have to
Mm.
do everything for you. Certain police, lieutenant and up above, are the only people that can come to you and talk to you. I was on there for 4 years. Every 72 hours, they transfer you from prison to prison
Yeah.
until 1998. They opened up the Supermax. So now, since they opened up the Supermax, I no longer have communication with nobody
Mm.
because they monitor everything that you're doing. I was in there from 1998 to 2008.
Mm. Mm.
So now I'm out of communication with everybody, don't know what's going on. So then I finally get released. Now everything is in disarray. There's no brothers don't have no loyalty no more. Guys is doing what they want to do and everything like that. So in order to put things in this proper perspective, just like we started out, you gotta first of all be open to listen. Because nobody want to be out here just shooting somebody for no reason and just doing all the unnecessary stuff, destroying families and stuff. A lot of people want to get out, but they don't know how. They've
Mm.
been in the streets since they was children. So you just can't take nobody, a grown man, been out there 40 years, and say, okay, now we want to try to teach you something. He got to be comfortable with the people that he was comfortable with. So when I
Yeah.
came home, they started ceasefire, which was a program that where you was a mentor and you mentor people out of the neighborhood that you grew up in. And the purpose for this was because a lot of people know of me, but they didn't know who I was. But now I'm working and I'm going to get these people that they done heard about me and know and trying to get them back in school or in a job training program. Because a lot of cats want to get off the street, but they don't know how. They don't
Yeah.
have the resources. Then, this was designed. That's why they took at first we was all organized. That's why they took all the leadership out. And remember, in the signs it says, you kill the head, the body must die.
Mhm.
So they took the head and now the body is dying.
Islam. Islam. You know, I remember talking to you, like I'm just want to kind of share with the people because I'm born and raised in Chicago, just like you, born and raised in Chicago. For the more a lot of times we can say we was born in Chicago but raised in the penitentiary, how much time we did. You know what I
Ain't no
mean?
question.
But
Ain't
but
no question.
I'm born and raised in Chicago. And growing up in the city, like I never heard of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I mean, I heard of it one time. You know what I mean? Khalif. Remember you was telling me about Khalif?
Yes,
Khalif.
sir.
Yeah,
Off
Khalif. So
103rd in Michigan.
off 130 Michigan, that's right. So, Khalif taught me how to hustle. You know what I mean? Like I was in the hundreds and stuff. My grandmother lived out there. I was out there selling coke and everything, around the neighborhood. It wasn't number BDs and GDs around there. So me and Khalif kind of jammed because you're old stone or whatever. So we jammed. He really giving me the game. When I'm telling you step by step, he really walking me through the art of hustling and actually being prosperous. So here it is. I'm a youngster out here with crumbs in my pocket, but he gonna say, I'm gonna show you how to turn them crumbs into bricks. So one day his brother cooked the Cookie Monster. So Cookie Monster just got out of prison. Cookie Monster done. Every day I see Cookie Monster put on this same thing I got on my head right now. I didn't know what it was at the time. I see Cookie Monster put his feds on, and he'll go slide right up 103rd, go down there, hop on the bus, and he'll go somewhere. So this one particular day, Cookie Monster come back. He's singing the song. He's singing that "Wade in the water, wade in the water, Muslim." He's singing that while he coming up the street, right? So me and Khalif standing on the corner there. At the time, Khalif asked me a question. Khalif asked me, "Who is the most important customer? The person that comes up and asks you to get him 12 for 100, or the person who spends $20 every day?" This is the type of attention that he gave to teaching me how to hustle, right? So while we going through this, and I'm in my mind trying to figure out the science of who was the most important customer, the Cookie Monster walk up, and the Cookie Monster says to me, he say, "Islam." Now, normally he walk up to me, he say, "All is well," or he'd be like, "CL Snake." But this time, he say, "Islam." I ain't never heard, nobody ain't never greeted me like that before. So he say Islam to Khalif. Khalif say, "Oh." You know what I mean? Yeah. So he say, "Man, the Grand Sheik say you need to come to the temple." Khalif like, you know what I mean? So he like, I'm like, "Well, what's the Grand Sheik?" So Cookie Monster tell Khalif, he say, "Man, Khalif used to be the Grand Sheik." He say, "Khalif, tell him what the Grand Sheik is." Khalif like, so he was really enthusiastic about teaching me how to sell cocaine, but he didn't want to tell me nothing about the temple. You drawn? Which you gave me some history on that, and you told me how they kind of corrupted, everything that the prophet gave and was demonstrating, with it. While at the same time, the Cookie Monster had just got out of prison. That's Khalif's youngest brother. He trying to get his life together, so he going to the temple. Now, they don't give it to me though. So that was it. After that, I ain't hear no more about it. And I just was like, whatever. I kept on doing what I was doing. And I found my way to federal prison where I spent 20 years, 3 months, and 24 days. That's how we ended up connecting. And I remember even when it came to a lot of things that, I thought that I knew about the organization that we was both part of, the Mickey Cobras. You told me like, nah, that ain't happened like that. Or you know what I mean? Even when it came to certain parts of the literature, you was like, nah, man, they made that up later. That didn't even got nothing to do with nothing. So I want you to kind of bring some perspective to that because, this gangism demonstration is really the religion of these youngsters in the streets. Yes, I know sir. That was my religion. You understand what I'm saying? When we say,
well, first, I want to elaborate on the brother Khalif.
Okay.
I've been knowing the brother Khalif since 1978.
Okay.
In fact, I caught a case out there for them. When I first ever went out there, wait, let me back up. In 1977, I was introduced to the Moorish Temple of America. In 1981, I get out. Well, 878, I get out and I'm going out there to the hunters because one of my partners moved out there that you come out of my neighborhood. So, okay, we come from the projects, ain't no streets and all that stuff. So, this was new to me. Okay. So I'm out there and I got introduced to Khalif and they was calling themselves Muftis, Moorish United Front Towards Islamism. So we started going over there. We started demonstrating with him. And Khalif, he was the Grand Sheik. We used to have service down there in his basement on 103rd. Now, later on, in 83, 84, I went back out there and he had done fell to the wayside. And then the demonstration was no longer. They started calling themselves Cold Soldier Army. So, and then in 1985, I ran into, 82, I ran into the brother Harris Bey. He used to be down there on 53rd in the hole. And he's still demonstrating, the Moorish signs, and we was using the Moorish signs as our literature at the time. So we was exercising, we was demonstrating, we was using the 101 keys, everything. And that's how a lot of brothers get in tune with the Moorish signs, because that's why a lot of brothers still conduct themselves as such today, because that was the first literature that we ever had. Now the brothers that's out there that's still doing the naught and stuff like that. A lot of them was never even taught, by nobody. It's just now the selling drug things is a fad. Whoever, if you got the money, you can go buy the drugs. Then you can set up anywhere you want to, and then you can call yourself whatever you want to.
Yep.
You know, you can be whatever you want to on these streets, but if you get to the penitentiaries, then it's gonna show exactly who you is. I don't care how much money you getting, what you doing out here, it's gonna show exactly what you is. Then you're gonna get a better perspective, because all this stuff was put together. The literature and everything was put together inside behind them walls.
Yep.
It was put together behind them walls, and then everybody just go off what people says. And even in the signs, it said, "Be what you know and not what you told."
That's right.
So you got to do your own research. There's a lot of misconceptions out here. People are misleading people and everything. If you do your own research, then you'll know. You'll know exactly what you're doing.
Mhm.
Because the only thing the selling drugs gonna do, you either gonna go to the penitentiary or you gonna die out here in the streets for somebody trying to take it from you.
That's right. But you know something more, I want to let you know what I want to camelback ride off what you just said, because it can get a little deeper than that, Mo. Like that's what I was locked up for. I was locked up for selling drugs, and I had to rewind the tape on my own personal life, over and over again, so I could make sure that I understood exactly how I got where I was at, because I don't ever want to go back there. You know, it could get deeper than that, Mo. Not only, because sometimes there are lives that mean more to us than our own life. Like when I think about my babies, my son, my daughter, my grandbabies, my mother, my woman, my these people, like ones out there in the streets snatch them up. Like what if, and it happens all the time. We out here playing these games in the streets, but it happens all the time where people are snatching up your family members because they want what you got. You understand what I'm saying?
Ain't no
You done
question.
did some in these streets, and the Joker feel like they can't get a hold of you, so they end up knocking off somebody who they feel like is close to you. They want to hurt you more. Something know, you know what I mean? Like people understand when they see you and recognize you as a man. They know how to hurt a man. You know what I'm gonna do?
Ain't no
I'm gonna hurt
question.
somebody that's close to you and make you live with that. These the type of games we play when we playing in these streets. You
So
understand me?
yes,
I
sir.
remember you. I remember you telling me. I remember you telling me though. I remember because I came up under the impression, as a young person, because I come, a whole generation after you. So I come up in the streets under the impression that the Mickey Cobras was this, what I mean, this coalition of brothers who had, been organized in such a way. We always prided ourselves on, when we looked at all of the other gangs in Chicago, like man, we more organized than they are. You understand? We more tighter than they are. We keep it, and that was my impression. But I remember you telling me about how, the authority, how the authority figures actually came about, because ones to go on YouTube, like a little video I just played. You understand what I'm saying? Ones to
Yes,
go on
sir.
YouTube and they'll talk about Henry Coswell, they'll talk about, what I mean,
Pony Soldier.
yeah, but they don't understand how many people actually lost their lives. How many people actually lost their lives trying to put this demonstration together. They go Harris Bay right there, Mo. Look at Tyrone Islam, Sheik. He say Islam, Mighty Moors, Islam, Mo.
Islam.
That's Harris Bay right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mo, he watch. He could click the stream y'all link and come on and come on and come on and come into the studio with us if he want to. And we could really kind of make these youngsters out here in the streets understand what this gang gets and demonstration really promise. It's like the Quran say, you know what I mean? It's rich in promises, but it's poor in blessedness and peace. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
It's rich in promises, though, Mo. But tell us, I mean, I wish that more would come on up. 'Cause, you know, y'all two together can really shed some light on this. Because these youngsters, you know, I remember being a youngster who thought I knew everything, especially being a minister. You understand me? I thought
Yes, sir.
I thought I knew everything it was to know about the organization. Joker didn't know nothing. Hey, as a matter of fact, what was the little brother? Dutch.
That was in El Reno.
That was in El Reno with us.
Yeah.
That was a brother who at any point he could, because he wasn't that young. He wasn't number a few years younger than me. And that brother could have lost his life in the streets at any time for something that he didn't even know nothing about. Think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
He didn't even understand. He didn't understand in the slightest. He did not understand. He didn't know anything about. He run around here talking about here Mickey Cobras and this, that, and the third. He didn't even know what that
No,
meant.
nothing. He didn't know nothing.
But it's a lot
Came
of
from
it's,
Minnesota. Didn't have a clue. Then the same people that he communicating with in Minnesota, I'm communicating with him too.
so kind of tell us about that. Tell us about that, bro. Like I mean, I need you to talk to the people, bro. I need you to really tell these youngsters, you know, like if
Well,
you
a lot
had
of
an opportunity. Now, listen, I got a question for you. If you had the opportunity right now to do things different, tell us what you would do different.
well, I would take the young cats and stuff and get them back in school, because basically without you trying to get without an education and stuff, you know, you really not gonna make it. You know, you're gonna make it just so far. But you want to reach to the top to where when you get at a certain age, you can retire and live a comfortable life. Everybody right now is living check by check, you know, because we done skipped the steps that we supposed to use to get to where we supposed to be. Everybody is trying to maneuver and cut corners and stuff. You know, when the solution is simple, you just go. You got to go through school, and then once you get through school, once you get where you want to be, and then you'll find out what your goals is. Nobody seem to have real goals. They just reach for anything, you know, that's going on and stuff. You know, trying to get jobs. You know, they just reaching for anything. But it starts with your education first. And if you're not going to school, and then you have all these doors open, you know, I remember back in 2009, I had lost my job, and my wife had told me and stuff. You know, she like, look, Michael, don't go back out to the streets and stuff. You know, I'm your wife. I'm here for you and stuff. I got the bills, everything. So I started going to school to be a welder. In the process of me going to school, I got distracted because I had never been into college before, and I got distracted. So now then my pride was in the way because I've never had a woman to support me, you know, in anything positive. All the negative stuff, you know, I always had those type of women to support me.
Mhm.
So then I also didn't understand the concept of what a marriage was. A marriage is a team.
Mm.
It ain't no I in team.
Islam.
So that's how I end up back to the penitentiary because I
Mhm.
wouldn't listen to what she said. She gave
Mhm.
up everything for me,
Islam.
but I wouldn't listen to nothing that she said
Islam.
because I thought I knew it all. But
Mhm.
now it's a different program. The same woman is sitting by my side
Mhm.
after 14 years. So now I know, you know, but we got to get these young brothers and stuff, man. We got to get them in a job training program or back in school, man.
You know something? And I'm a camelback ride with you, right? Cause I'm that young brother. You understand what I'm saying? Like I went in prison in 2003. I was 23 years old. So while I was in prison, I started my prison sentence off. I went in that demonstration. I was mad at the world. I was so mad. I mean, when I tell you that the one emotion that I really got to know and understand was anger. All right. I was so mad because I got all this time and I don't know what to do about it. You understand me? So I was in that demonstration and I was tweaking. I was tweaking bad. I was tweaking real bad. I was getting in all types of trouble. As a matter of fact, I never, Mo, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Like, I have never been the type of individual. I always been mechanical. So it's like in the streets, whatever needed to be done, okay, I'm cool with it. I wasn't the person that was out looking to try to hurt nobody or demonstrate. That wasn't my thing. You understand me? My whole thing was get some money and think our way through whatever it was we was going through. But when I got to prison, that anger shifted and it turned, and then next thing you know, people who would have knew me in the world, they wouldn't have even recognized me in that first 5 years locked up, and they're tweaking. It's constantly getting in trouble and all that. You feel me? So with that being the case, I end up coming to the Moorish Science Temple of America. Keep it 100 with you. I didn't go to the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Moorish Science Temple of America came to me.
Came to you.
It came
Yes,
to me.
sir.
You understand me? You know how it is in there. You know what I mean? And I sought as much as I can to emulate what was given to me to bring it to the youngsters. You know how I did it. Feel me? When I seen them young people, I would look at them and all I could see was first and foremost, I would see my son. And then I would see myself. And then I was all about the business of trying to help them, you know what I mean? Never, ever, 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 ever have to re-experience what they was going through again. I'm gonna show you how to do this so you could become the best version of yourself. That's what the temple gave to me. You understand me? So coming into that, I self-educated myself. All right. I didn't know how to even talk. Like right now, here it is. I'm on the podcast. I'm on the podium every doggone week. I'm speaking for people, and I'm speaking for people fully confident in my ability to communicate what needs to be communicated because I studied it and I learned it in the Moorish Science Temple of America. But prior to coming to this temple, I ain't know how to talk. I ain't know how to talk. As a matter of fact, I didn't even really know nothing. So here I'm a self-educated person. So education is absolutely the key. But more important than that is understanding what you want to do. You said it. People need to have goals, Mo.
Yes, sir.
People need to have goals. And one thing about being out there in them streets, running around gang banging and dodging bullets, your everyday goal is to not allow one of them bullets to hit you. Simple as that. Simple as that. And that it takes so much energy. It takes so much energy. Do you remember who the freak was I was talking to? It was one of them doggone jokers. I think it was Dutch. Yeah, that's who it was. And I was trying to tell Dutch, I say, man, do you understand that you in jail? You've been locked up. Like you finna get ready to go out there in them streets where them youngsters been running around the streets. They've been out there with them swords on them. Do you understand me? Doing what they do in the streets. And you been in here. You think you finna go out there and have the reflex just jump back in the mix? Shorty them gonna kill you. He didn't even understand that. And it wasn't just him, but a lot of people that get locked up.
A lot of older
cats get right out of jail and get killed.
Exactly. Because they think
right
that people
and get killed.
Because they think that people owe them something. And instead of you getting out trying to guide them in the right direction, because it's too late for you to try to, pull them in up under you. You got to guide them in the right direction because they got the money and the resources to do the things that they want to do, but they don't have the ideas.
That's right.
See, we always can make the money. The money is nothing. But it's what we do with the money. A lot of us sitting around waiting on the police to come get us and then to get the money back. You paying $30,000 for a lawyer, and then we don't even know that you already set in the feds.
Yeah.
Your time already set. You can pay a lawyer $30,000, but you still going to penitentiary for them 20 years.
I bear witness. I bear witness.
It's
I bear
already set.
witness,
Every
bro.
time I talk to a cat, he always say, "Hey man, I paid a lawyer such and such such such. How much time you get? 15 years. How much was you facing? 15 to life. Okay, well you was gonna get that anyway for free. They have us to get the money. Then they trick us out of the money because
Man.
we don't know what to do with it. We don't have nobody that's around that knows what to do with the finance. We don't have nobody around. Only thing we have a person around us like, oh, the Jordan's coming out tomorrow. And then you living in your mother's basement. So that just shows you that your whole concept is messed up.
Listen, Mo, I just made, the matter of fact, the promotion video for this episode right here. And I was telling them something I used to tell them guys in the joint all the time. Even when I had 2 weeks left. Whoa, when I was two weeks before it was time to go home, I told the joke, I say, man, listen, if I had $92 billion right now, I would pay $93 billion to get out. Because and
no question.
See, it's a lot to that too, though, Mo. It's not just a desire to come home, but it's a desire to come home mixed with an understanding of who and what I am. All right. I have what's in here. So I don't need the material. I can get that. I can get money. Getting money has never been my problem.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? My problem has been, it's been a social problem. It's been a moral problem, because one thing about being in the streets and being in that gangism lifestyle, we love each other and we treat each other like family. I mean, in my neighborhood, I want to share something with the people who listen. I want to tell y'all, I'm finna tell y'all a story, man, for real. I want y'all to understand this, and you can tell me if you understand what I'm about to get ready to say. See, I met you when you was, you have been doing this for a long time, and I can tell everybody who listens that you treat everybody the way they're supposed to be treated. You understand me? That comes from living a lifestyle where you know that's what's most beneficial to you and the other person. Now, for me, I grew up around a certain group of people. This was my family. My gang was my family. You understand what I'm saying? We ate at each other's house, we slept in each other's house, we shared each other's clothes, we fought for each other, we did all this for each other. Now, with that being the case, when I came into to have a position in the organization, now I'm going to other neighborhoods, but I didn't grow up with them. You understand me? I don't have that same type of connection with them. And it showed when it came time to actually, enforce the law. I was more willing to do more to these people who I didn't really know, didn't grow up with, than I was to the people in my neighborhood. And with that being the case, I seen that wasn't just true for me, but it was true for a lot of brothers who was in my position from different neighborhoods and stuff. So in the city of Chicago, okay, like in the time when you grew up, like the video that I just played said it was 500 Mickey Cobras, and it said that like that was just a whole lot. But when I came into the organization, it was thousands of us. You understand what I'm saying? So we don't know each other. You feel me? So with that being the case, man, these youngsters out there now, bro, they cutting each other's throats. I feel like my experience was that nobody actually hurt us more than we hurt ourselves.
Ain't no question.
Like the GDs, the BDs, the vice lords, and everybody else, none of them hurt us. the way we heard ours said.
Ain't no
And
question.
they could probably all say the same about themselves.
Yeah.
Real
Yes,
talk.
sir.
Real talk.
For sure.
Okay. Yep. Demonstrate.
What you say?
I say demonstrate. It's what you got on your mind. Say it.
Well, yes, sir. That's the truth. Because, like I say, everybody now is cutting throats. Everybody, and then, like I say, nobody is going nowhere. Everybody is still in the same spot. You ride down Princeton and stuff, everybody's in the same place, man. Nobody is going nowhere. Every day we doing the same thing over and over, then expecting different results. You
Hmm.
can't keep doing the same thing and then you expect different results, especially if it's something negative. If it's something where you growing your family and you taking your finance and stuff and you building for the future, that's what, just like that video showed. That's what Chief Mickey Cobras was doing. He was about trying to uplift and put some real finance in people's pocket legitimately through the unions and all that. So everything else and stuff, like I said, man, it's a lost cause, bro.
So let me ask you a question because I don't think that we really, in the more scientific of America, we talk to really dig deep. You understand what I'm saying? Like we don't just accept what's on the surface. We dig deep into it. So I grew up under the understanding that Henry Codwell was the founder of the Mickey Cobras. Okay. But then later on, even from you telling me, you know what I mean? Because you told me about some members that was pivotal and that was leaders that we ain't never even heard of, like what's the more name? Kilroy, uh,
Kilroy,
some
Will Kill.
Will Kill, these different people, right? So now we get the understanding that Henry Codwell, he rises up in leadership and becomes the chief of the Mickey Cobra organization, but he has a vision. He has a vision that's so beyond, the time that he was living in and the
Yes, sir.
capacity of the people that was around him.
Yes,
Because
sir.
when people think about Jeff, like, honest to, not disrespecting nobody, but people think about Jeff Ford and they like, man, they always say, man, this man led all these people, man, he led all these people. Like he had to be extraordinarily intelligent, which I I understand the difference between having the potential to be a great leader and being a great leader. And a lot of times people find themselves in leadership positions because of their potential. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Now, with that being the case, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America says something. And the great Sheik the Sage, Clarence Pray to Heal, he always bring this particular instruction up. It says, when thou sons increase about thy table, sinneth thou them not out to slay the innocent. So as the membership grows and your following grows, don't just send them out to go to war with people who have declared themselves your enemy or you have declared yourself an enemy against them. But this was something that Jeff Ford never understood. Jeff Ford was fine and all right with going to war with anybody who was an opposition to the way he thought. Okay. Whereas Henry Mickey Codwell, his whole vision was about seeing our people as a controlling authority in the city of Chicago. He recognized the politics, he recognized the economic system, he recognized everything that was going on that could actually shift our people from poverty to prosperity.
Ain't
And
no
I
question.
just do not believe that the people who was with and around him understood the way he thought at all.
Exactly. Yes, sir.
And I'm not just saying this because You know, I don't give a freak about no gang demonstrations, no more, period. So I'm not just saying this because I declared him my chief at one point in time. I'm saying this because this is the reality. When you study the man and you get to know the way he thought and the way he moved and what his vision was, the plans that he had laid out for the organization that he led, I mean, that's what it was. So, like, even when it came to when they was getting the money, getting the grants and stuff, he never had the intention on beating them people out their money. He really wanted to do what he said he was going to do with that money.
Ain't no question.
You know. Now, with that being the case, now I got a question. Do you think, looking at the landscape today, do you think that it's any way possible that these youngsters could be prevented from killing each other the way that they're killing each other right now, and that their energy can be turned to good?
Yes, nothing is impossible, but it takes all of the people that we looking up that we looked up to. It takes everybody to come together and stuff. You know, just as good. Do you know if you imagine that how many people that done been through this struggle that walks into the neighborhood where these young cats at now, and they've done heard of all these guys, and they just see them, their mouth will be open.
Mm-hmm.
You know, cause like when I used to work for Ceasefire, right? I'm gonna tell you a story. One time, uh, the the black disciples and the Stones had a war over East, and they had killed the black disciples had killed the Stone over there over East. So King Shorty, Fatty of the GDs, we all went over there. And we went to the family first before the funeral because they saying it's supposed to be retaliation after the funeral. We went to the family house, and this it was DC too, Daryl Cannon. We went to the family house, and the man said, you know, he was talking about the funeral, and DC said, "Look, we all gonna show up, and this is what I want you to tell them. We want you to tell the guys that we don't want, that's your son in the coffin, that we don't want, I don't want no retaliation. If you honor my son, then I don't want no retaliation for my son's death." So we all go in the funeral home, these young cats in there, they don't know who King Shorty is. But all they know is a BD killed uh, the Stone. So the father got up, spoke. He said what we told him to say. Hey, we don't want no retaliation for your son. So then DC got up. He went through his history of being a BPSN. So King Shorty step up. Now, you know, everybody talking in the funeral home. But when King Shorty said who he was, the whole funeral home went quiet to listen to his message because they had seen him in the flesh. You know, it's different to talk about people and then you see them in the flesh.
It is.
And all it takes is all of us who's been through it to go into the neighborhoods. See, we got to get out, sitting out at the crib, sitting in the in these different places and stuff. You know, we got to take to the streets. If you really want to stop the killing, you got to take to the streets because you don't know who in that crowd heard of you or know of you. Now they see you done changed your life all over, so they know that it's a way possible. That's where it starts at. It starts with see, everybody has a history. And your history in the streets is either negative or positive. Some people gonna look at you and they gonna say, "Oh, he's negative." Some people gonna look at you and they gonna say he's positive. But those who that see you as positive, they gonna follow behind you,
Mhm.
especially if you got the right message. If you
Yes.
bring the right message and stuff, you know they gonna follow behind you. A lot of us was raised without a two-parent home. It's impossible for a mother to teach us how to be men. It takes a man to teach us how to be men. No matter how much he put in, it ain't gonna add up.
Mhm. That's right.
Now, some of us got uncles, that we was used as an example. Some of us got cousins. Some of us got brothers. But no matter how much a woman put into it, she could never teach us how to be a man.
That's right. That's right. That's definitely the truth, man. I was raised. That's that's how I came up. And I could look back now and and look at some of the things that my mom, my sister, my aunties, my grandmothers, and them that they taught me. But the things that actually spurred my change, that made me want to actually be a man, was having to go inside of them distant crypts and them prisons and meet real men who had changed their life. So, like you said, I seen men who were at one point in time just like me, but who had changed their life. So I can always know that, hey, these men are due honor. They do the same type of respect that we give one another in the streets when we know how we living and what we doing in the streets. But they didn't change their life. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Now being that I don't want to die in prison. I don't want to get smoked out in the streets. So I'm like, okay, well, I can follow this person because they showing me that they are walking that walk. And that's something that's important, man. So you know what you just said, that's the second time this month that I heard a brother say emphatically that our young people, not only could they be saved, but they was just waiting for us to show them how to save themselves.
Ain't no question.
You understand? This the second time. Again, it was the sheep prayed the hill told me that,
Water bottle.
and then here it is. You said that. So that's something that's important. I want to rewind though, right? I want to rewind. I don't want to just let something that you dropped just go unheard. You know what I mean? But you said that the first literature that y'all had came from the Moorish Science Temple of America. Can you tell us about that?
Well, when I came into the organization, that's what I was given and that's what I was taught. But the brother has Bay, he used to always try to direct me to the more science because he said if Chief Mickey Cobras was living right now, that's where he would be. He's always tried, he's always tried to bring me over to the more science, even though I already knew the more science. Like I said, I began studying in 1977. So he always, every time I've ever seen him, he's always tried to bring me to the more science.
So you talking about the Supreme Grand Sheik Unity Temples, Tyrone Harris Bay, who we know as King U Bay. That's what
Yes,
you
sir.
talking about.
Yes,
You talking
sir.
about that one.
Yes, sir.
Islam.
We've
Islam.
always had a close relationship. Always.
Islam. Islam. Okay. So I get
See,
on.
but
So
but it's part of the body. When we was using the literature, we didn't. I didn't understand none of it at the time for real. A parakeet can recite anything that you teach him to recite. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So you gotta exercise that in life. You know what I mean? Not just be able to speak it. So I used it, changing forms and all that. That was our street language. You know, because we didn't understand none of it. But as I got older, as I started getting older, everything that was in there, I had started beginning to understand now. You know, at first I didn't, but now I do understand everything that I was talking about when we shooting the guns and doing all that. I ain't finna go. I'm finna go come in. Everything shooting the guns and everything. Uh, I didn't. I was just we was just repeating what we was reading. It's about understanding. You can read anything. It's about understanding it. Once you get an understanding, now you got a better concept.
Islam. You know,
Hey, Mo, listen,
yep,
but I got to get ready to go back to the place.
yeah.
So,
Oh man. Hey, you know, I trust me, I know, man. It's almost over. It's almost over, Mo.
yes, sir.
It's almost over, Mo. What you got? This your last week in that center, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna tell you something. Believe it or not, while you in that center, you actually having more freedom than they gonna allow you to have when you get out. It's
Yeah.
when you get home, then people gonna be calling you every day. Every day they gonna call you at 9 o'clock. Every day like clockwork.
Yeah,
Then they
they
gonna
do it
call
now.
yeah. Then they gonna call you again at 12:30 or 12 o'clock or whatever the
They
case may
at
be.
11. They do it
11.
now.
Yeah. They gonna call you. And so just just go ahead. Man should have found himself where he solves his problems best. You
Yes, sir.
already know Bay Legacy Contracting. The corporated company that I'm building. All praise is due to Allah, honesty, His Prophet Noble Drew Ali for showing us the way. We finna get ready to do big things. Tomorrow is a big day for Bay Legacy Contracting LLC. I'm fixing to get ready to try to get this contract that's gonna put some big bread in our pockets. You know?
Yes, sir.
So, just be ready, be ready. I'm gonna slide on you anyway and tell you one way or the other because it's what's going on. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right, you go ahead and get back to spend as much time as you can with your wife before you go back to the center. I'm fixing to get ready and keep demonstrating on the podcast for probably another how long, whatever, before I hit the industry.
Give my number to Has Bay for me.
I'm gonna email. I'm gonna send. I'll send an email. I'm gonna text it to them. I'm gonna text it to the sheet.
Yes,
All right.
sir. Yes,
All
sir.
right. Peace
All
and
right,
love.
Islam. Peace,
Is
Mo.
Islam.
How you get off here?
Don't trip. I'm gonna kick you out. Gonna kick you out. Go. Kick them out. Islam. That's my man. My man, Prince Beaumont, Supreme Prince Mickey Cobras. Everybody who know me, y'all know that's what I did growing up. Mickey Cobra Nation. Think about it, man. Mickey Cobra Nation. A lot of these gangs, they got the Black P Stone Nation, the GD Nation, the BD Nation. They don't even know that the whole nation part that part was incorporated into the philosophy and of their particular organizations, you know, by way of the Moorish Science Temple of America being introduced into our communities. One thing that I know, I want to share a little bit of history that I know about the streets. So Henry Cogwell, he was with the Moors. He was already with the Moors, but he wasn't one of those ones that was really enthusiastic about being active in the temple. So then in the 80s, when Jeff Ford went to the feds and really got introduced to the Moorish Science Temple of America, he was, you know, really converted. Like he really wanted to get out and bring all of the stones. And we got to understand that when we say all of the stones by this time, we talking about 21 different street gangs that had come together under one umbrella. He wanted to bring all of them into the Moorish Science Temple of America. you know. But a lot of them, a lot of the Moors, and I even, I was actually when I first joined the temple, there was a member of the temple named Hunter Bey. Hunter Bey was an older brother, and he was in the temple when, he was a Black Peace Stone back in the day when Jeff Ford came home and was saying to everybody to join the temple. And he was like, man, you know what? We grew up eating pork, like we grew up going to church. Now all of a sudden you want me to be a Muslim and you want me to stop eating pork. And he wasn't really with that, because when we hear the name Black Peace Stone or Stone, Egyptian Mickey Cobras Stone, all these different names, we think that you know, they adopted these names because they had already, you know, came into formation with these principles and these concepts and this philosophy that we share, you know, as Asiatic people. But that's not true. Like the whole thing about black stones is they was black stones because they started on Blackstone Street. You know what I mean? Like they literally started on Blackstone Street. So they was like, okay, we're Black Stones because we from Blackstone Street. It didn't get no deeper than that. It wasn't like, oh, like we come up and we thinking that it was, something that led back to the Kaaba and back and all that. No, it don't. It didn't. It later on, like it started to take that type of formation. But in reality, we got to understand that these gangs were started by kids. Like they were children. You understand what I'm saying? Like, the vice lords, the people who founded the vice lords in Chicago in 1957. And for the record, so the Mickey Cobras started in 1954. Either it was in 1954 or 1952, whatever. Not the Mickey Cobras, but the Egyptian Cobra stones. And the vice lords came about in 1957 because they was like basically defending themselves against the Mickey Cobras because the Mickey Cobras was deep and they was, they was a gang. So they started the vice lords and all that, but they were children. So when I was, I was asking people like, hey, how is it that here it is now we are adults, but we are supposed to keep to rules and concepts that were established by children now that we are adults? It's going to conflict with the simple fact that we are mature and we have responsibilities now, but I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't understand. I do. I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't, appreciate that phase in my life, because a lot of men that I met, that don't really understand, how to follow the leader, don't really understand the principles of organization and stuff like that. I actually had these type of experiences and these teachers growing up in the streets, being affiliated and, being an outstanding member. Okay. Being an outstanding member. So that's something that I really wanted to share. I really wanted to talk about that, get the people out there, especially our young people, out there, screaming gang, gang, especially after I heard, the little Mo kiddo demonstrating with the Sheik. And honestly, Sheik, every time she Bey, honest to you, Sheik, demonstrating with the Sheik and really talking about how, he came through the organization by way of his own father. And, just wanting to be like his father and being out there in the streets. See, we don't understand that we be leading our children. We be leading our children, somewhere where we don't want to see our children. We don't want to see our children in these places, but this is where we are leading our children. We leading our children to the drug dens, where people is getting, with shooting needles in their arms and popping pills and doing all of these type of things. We leading our children to the graveyards early in their life, not after they have lived a long, prosperous life, made their goals real and stuff like that. They young people who have not even yet realized what they want to do with their lives. Boom, now their life is lost. And we are leading them there. We are leading our children to these penitentiaries. And let me tell you, if you ain't never been in prison, man, you don't know nothing. I don't give a freak how many movies you watch. I don't care how many aunties, uncles, brothers, sisters, cousins you done talk to about prison. If you ain't never been there, you don't know nothing about what it's like to be a prisoner. Okay? You don't know nothing about what it's like to be a prisoner unless you have been a prisoner. You don't know. It is something that is absolutely and utterly so unnatural. It's incomprehensible to any human being. It's incomprehensible. You cannot possibly understand. If the judges who sentence these people to these football numbers that they passing out, man, if they would just be made to spend some time in prison for real, first of all, they would know that the majority of these prisons and these places that they sending these people to have nothing that even resembles the capacity to rehabilitate these people at all. It's not there. So when you try to ask the question and you say, well, why is the recidivism rate so high? Because these prisons are not designed or made, or are they don't have the staff. They don't have the staff that is qualified to help the people that's there. It's not there. I'm locked up because I sold drugs. Well, I sold drugs for a reason. I either sold drugs so I could get high, or I sold drugs so I could get some money, which means if I sold it to get some money, I'm lacking in job training, I'm lacking in education. You understand me? If I killed somebody, I killed somebody because they either done something to me, or because I thought they was going to do something to me, or because I was afraid they was going to take something from me. I'm probably suffering from some form of bipolarism or schizophrenia, but instead of sending me to a doctor, you send me to prison. Okay, so I'm telling you something. These prisons and the people that are in these prisons, okay, just the state of the simple fact that I have been taken out of my family, taken away from my household, taken away from the responsibilities that were tailor-made for me. Okay, they tailor-made for me and placed inside of a prison around a whole bunch of people that I do not know. I'm sleeping in the bathroom with a person who I do not know, who I met at the toilet bowl in what we gonna have to call home until, you understand what I'm saying? This is where I am at, okay? So for all of you people out here in the world, you know, who think, you don't know what the mother freak we've been going through. You don't know your family members coming home and you trying to understand, man, why do they act like that? Why do they always walk so close to the wall? Why is they always paranoid? Every time you say their name and ain't nobody turn around like this, you trying to they turn around like that, because this is how we gotta have these snappy type of reflexes to survive inside of these prisons, man. Y'all just don't, especially in this era of time. I was just talking to my son and my nephew. Man, it is way more easier to get drugs in prison than it is to get drugs out. Way more easier. Way more easier. And then when you talk about the drugs that these men, they smoking that spice, that K2, so ain't nobody in their right mind. They shooting up fentanyl and doing Suboxone, all types of dope. These jokers is making alcohol and getting drunk as I don't know mother freaking what. I'm talking, man, this alcohol that jokers is out here drinking is like juice. It's like juice compared to that stuff that the people is making inside of them prisons. It's juice. That stuff's 120 proof at the least. And everybody running around mad because they in jail. And this is what that gangism demonstration gonna get you. That's what it's gonna get you. That's what I did for 20 years. 20 years, 3 months, and 24 days. That's what the Prince Bomani did for 37 years. 37 years. Locked up from 1985, prior to the crack era. Okay? There was no crack. There was no fentanyl. There were no spikes. There were no switches on the guns. Where nobody even smoking blunts. It was barely even rap music. Got locked up in 1985. Came home in 2008. Got locked back up in 2011 and just came home a month ago. All because of the gangism degree. All because of the gangism. See, this is what it leads to when the Quran says that it is rich in promises for poor in blessedness and peace. This is what it gives you. You be out here in the streets, you got your dope, you hustling, you making money, and you like, damn, you rich, you having it your way. Then the feds come. When the feds come, they lock you up, they put you in prison, and don't nobody give a freak about who you think you is. Now it's time to do it all over again. Did nobody care? Did nobody care that I was the minister of the Mickey Cobras when I got to the Fed? They didn't give a freak about that. Did nobody care that I was getting money before? They didn't care about none of that. Because they was who they were in their own right. And they had proved themselves. So now it's time for you, youngster, prove yourself. Show us that you are who you say you are. Because we don't give a freak who you say you are. 67 days later, after hitting the yard, I was in federal court again. They offered me 24 years for attempted killing, trying to prove who I said that I was, who I say I was. All praise due to Allah, copped out to 33 months. And then my stupid butt talked so much smack in the courtroom to the judge, man, put it on the back of the other 252 months you already gave. Because that 252 months felt like life. So now I got 285 months. Get back to the compound now. It's time to hear the incident report. They take 3 more months. Now I got 288 months. By the time it was all over, I done got an extra 33 months added to my sentence, and I lost over 2 years worth of good time. I had a 21-year sentence. You're supposed to do 85%. I got out after serving 20 years, 3 months, and 24 days. With that being the case, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Temple of America teaches us that man is sure to find himself where he solves his problems best. I am a faithful member of the greatest organization ever formed in the history of the planet Earth. All praise is due to Allah, honor to his holy prophet, Noble True Ali. Yep. And I'm not the only one. So a lot of people like to look at the Moorish Temple of America and say, you know, man, so many Moors come out of prison. Well, that's not actually true. That's something that we think. I went out to Baltimore to go visit with the Sheik clans, pray the ill, and the house of pray the ill. And the majority of them Moors ain't never seen no prison. Some of them, yeah, some of them have. But most of them Moors was born in the Moorish Temple of America. They family oriented. They don't know nothing but Moorish science. And for a lot of you sheiks that think you know what you like one of the brothers was posted, you know who was the scholars of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and some of the people who he named, yeah, the freak right. All right, man, listen, Pray the Ill is over there raising up some real live, bona fide, adept master sheiks. Real talk. He ain't the only one. He ain't the only one, but I just want to make sure that won't get his flowers. I want to make sure you get his flowers. Right? But in this temple, in this house that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali built by order of his father, God Allah, it's a reason why we have people like myself, people like Beaumont, people like, so many other Moors. I mean, R. Jones Bey. R. Jones Bey came out of the Dismal Crips. One of the same Moors who brought him into the Moorish Science Temple of America taught me for years. See, because in there, we don't have no ink. We don't have no, who you want to. We don't do that. It's just the Moorish Science Temple of America. We don't care nothing about, the different grand bodies. All we know is the grand body. We ain't know nothing about no various grand bodies, and you better not bring that to us, because we're not going to even tolerate individuals trying to demonstrate the Ethiopian degree inside of the temple. We did not tolerate it. I never ever seen in all of my years in the temple. One, I was the Grand Sheik for a long time. And that was just not something that I was going to tolerate at all, period. I was not going to tolerate it. It was, you bet not even dream of doing it. I had members who had came up under Dr. Malachi York. I had members who had came up under Bailey Ill, Givens Ill, Richard Dingle Ill, Timothy Dingle Ill, and some more Ills and Bays, whom I didn't care nothing. All I knew was they were Moorish Americans. Period, point blank. We are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother that had given us all suck. We live by it, period. Okay? That's something that out here we need to really, really, really commit to sticking to, living by the letter of the law. You don't have to, you don't have to call, my Grand Sheik your Grand Sheik. You don't have to call me Grand Sheik. Okay? I know how to make you understand that I am who I say that I am. And if you are qualified, then you would know that I am who I say that I am. And that's all that matters. That's all that matters. Okay. So I want to get honest to the Prince Bomani. I want to give honor to all of the true and the faithful members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I want to give honor to all of the Asiatics, here, there, and everywhere, who are working towards the uplifting of fallen humanity. All of those ones who contribute, time out of their life to see our community made a better place for the young people in our community. I give honors to you. If there's anything that the Sheik Maurice Pennington Bey can do to help you, call me on all of my stuff. That is my phone number. That's my phone number. That's my email address. The temple address is 203 Persimmon Streets, Peoria, Illinois. That's the address. Show up whenever you want to, call whenever you want to, call me whenever you want to, email me whenever you want to. Period, point blank. If you want some bull junk, they be like, oh man, anybody could call you, whatever. I will hang up on you. I ain't tripping on that. I will hang up on you. All right? And if you need me, call me. If you are a brother and you're in adversity, I will assist you. To all of my sisters, there is nothing that could make me forsake you if you are in trouble. Nothing. That's the law. The law must live. Islam, all praise due to Allah, honor to his holy prophet. That's right. I absolutely agree. Something that the Quran says, the Quran talks about heaven and hell, not being places, but being actually states of mind. So what we learn in the Moorish Science Temple of America is those particular lessons and exercises that allows for us to master our minds. So in mastering our minds, we know that we actually create, our living conditions or our living mind space. My brother Sheik Maurice used to always talking about, having the chaotic mind space versus the peaceful mind space, and the ability to create this space for yourself. And as a Moorish American, somebody who knows themselves, they know that this ability, that this capacity actually exists within them.